Hello, Oskar. How
So,
are you doing today?
well, I'm fine. Fine, thank you. Busy days. We have our high season at the moment, so yeah. People want to buy things to improve their homes at the moment, so yeah.
It's very nice to see you again. It's been a while. I think we have managed to meet in person not that long ago, so it's nice to have this conversation with you again. So tell me, what does your title really mean? Chief Information Officer, CIO. What is it that about?
Well, as you said, I mostly work at the commercial side at big enterprises. At the moment, I have the position as a CIO, meaning I'm in the management team, but my responsibility is more or less classical IT stuff. And having a retail chain with both, that's primarily offline sales with stores. I mean, that is where we come from. And then we've added e-commerce along the road many years ago, but still there's still a division between online and offline in terms of how the company is measured, organized, how the development is run, and so on. So I, as a CIO, now is responsible for both of these parts. So yeah, but still CIO for me. And also in this meeting, I will talk quite a lot about how to run the technology, not in terms of the marketing side or the business plans. I have colleagues for that. I know fairly well, but yeah, I try to limit myself on making it possible for my colleagues in the management teams to achieve their goals instead of actually setting them myself. So that I see as the role of the CIO, to enable better commercial thinkers. And I don't say that I'm like very like this tech guy, but I try to see the CIO role as the guy that makes the tech guys happy. Give them resources, finance, possibilities, taking the risks. Yeah, so that's how I see the role of the CIO. Enabler.
Enabler, that's a really good description. Give us a bit of a background. The last year, 2 years, couple of years back, in terms of the business of retail and business of e-commerce.
Yeah.
What does it take? What has it taken? And where do you stand right now?
Well, since we're in the DIY business, we have had we've been largely affected by the pandemic, and like it has been disaster for many, but for us, people have seen their homes again, and they have spent time in their homes, and they want to improve their homes. So we have had 2 really good years in terms of sales, and of course that has been a good thing for us. So we've been able to reinvest quite a lot in the technologies, both in terms of e-commerce, but also when in our stores and so on. So I think, yeah, it has been a good years, and we have kind of increased our investments in the digital landscape quite a lot, and also reevaluated a bit how we run the show, since actually I came on board and became responsible for the e-commerce technologies, or what do you say? And the main thing is that to be able to be fast, we cannot have our own tech guys, because they come and go, and instead finding partners. And therefore, a goal for me has been to strengthen the relationship with Scandibeb. So we have like access to the tech guys at Scandibeb instead of having them their own. So yeah, that has been also a focus to we started doing business maybe 6 years ago. That was I was not a part of that contract, but now we have kind of found each other again. And I think it's very important that as an enabler, as me, not like the tech guy, the guy who enables it for the tech guys, it's like I need to decide where where are the tech guys? And I'm super happy with ScandiWeb, who I believe knows what they're doing. So yeah, that has been another thing over the last year to strengthen the relationship and make everything from strategy, tactical, and an operative level to strengthen everything with our web agency.
So were you saying the strength of communication and understanding between you as a merchant and an enabler with your technical people who are technically outsourced, but you still see this, the importance of the communication is really high and actually benefits the business in return, right?
I didn't understand really. Can you repeat that?
So your communication with your service provider,
yep,
is really important.
Yes, definitely. I mean, when it comes to e-commerce, since I'm responsible for kind of broad spectrum of different digital aspects within a company that has so many different business areas, it's a bit special when it comes to e-commerce because there are so many sub-disciplines within e-commerce. You have the digital advertising, you have the SEO, you have the CRO, you have so many things, and all these sub areas are slightly conflicting a bit. So to be really good at e-commerce, you really need to have a strong lead, I would say, and also a philosophy and the plan. This is how we operate. These are our key success factors, and you need to stick to it and believe in it, because there are so many contradictions within the area of e-commerce, and it moves so fast. So all of a sudden, some kind of technology is the solution for everything, but then 6 months later, it's not. Then it's a legacy and a problem, and then it takes. So you don't really have time to have internal fights on where to go. And one solution for that is to work with a partner who actually listens to other clients, who has a broad customer base, who have people like you that only work with e-commerce strategy, to actually consolidate that and summarize and give that to me as the enabler. I think it's easier to do that, actually, if that makes sense.
Great. Yeah, it does. Thank you for that. I know you joined the company a little bit later, but do you have any insights? Why Magento? Why is this particular solution chosen by Byggmax?
Yeah. Well, maybe the boring answer is that I didn't really select Magento, and I try not to select brands. I mean, I leave that to the service providers, because that also changes. So I feel that it was a good decision because it's one of the big platforms, and there are resources, and I mean, nowadays you don't really buy software or lines of code. You buy best practices in services. I buy your advertisement through the software and the products and the lines of code. And what is most important? I don't know. Is it the lines of code, or is it that you recommend me take this path, Oskar, because I see this coming? And I think the later is much more important than the lines of code. And then Magento will become just some kind of other enabler for this ecosystem to work. So for me, brands are not that important, actually, and that might be boring, but I think that's also the difference between the CIO and the tech guys, because I think for the tech guys, it's very important with different brands and Hyve and other things. But in my position, I think I need to lift above that and not have opinion about brands and products and so on.
So what I hear is that it's more important to have the right solution, and only then we think about who's doing that or how is it being done. It doesn't really matter so long as the problem is resolved.
Yes, and I mean, the worst thing for me as an enabler or as a buyer is that I buy something, I select the product, and then 2 years later, someone said, well, this is what you bought. I mean, and if I never buy products, no one can ever tell that to me. I mean, you selected this product, now you have to live with it. So it's like, okay, I'd like to buy solutions. I want to be here in 2 years. You take the decisions on which components and brands, and then it's much easier to actually, reach the goal.
Byggmax cannot be considered a small business. You have more than 170 stores. How does e-commerce support those stores? How does e-commerce support that business, and what digital tools do you use in stores or otherwise to complement one another?
Well, it's very important, and especially the pandemic has shown that we had to close some stores in some countries during some periods, and then all of a sudden we could have the stores open with pure e-commerce, and we could deliver the goods just outside the doors of the shop, and we could, I mean, keep quite a lot of revenue in do that. So that actually shows that e-commerce is very important, but also what is e-commerce? It was maybe just another POS system that was online. So it actually challenged us quite a bit. What is the e-commerce channels? And we've heard the omnichannel word and so on. I believe that Byggmax, as many other retailers, we have invested quite a lot, as I mentioned, in different channels, like both for organization and systems and so on. And we still suffer a bit from that. But I think we are multi-channel, so we have connected the two channels in a fairly well manner. We have the offers that I think the customer wants. But it's like in separate flows, separate processes, separate people, and that limits us. So that will be something that we will continue to work on, to actually have it pure omnichannel, because I believe that to be pure omnichannel, you need to take it all the way when it comes to systems and also people and organization. Otherwise, you still will end up with different multi-channel offerings, even though that you try to combine and integrate and so on. If that was the answer, I don't know.
You did mention Omnichannel there, and it's been a buzzword up in the air for a long time. What does it mean for you, or what does it mean for your company?
I mean, it means actually what I say. It is very important, and it's one of the buzzwords that I kind of not want to slip away and then kind of is forgotten, because it is very relevant. And I think many companies that come from traditional retail with stores, they still struggle from it, because they have these organizations and the people in the board and everything that come from the retail part with stores, and they kind of stick to it. It becomes some kind of a something that you revert back to because it's safe. But I still believe I've seen some other retailers who were kind of have some financial problems, and they are forced to be pure omnichannel. And when they've taken that leap, they really have come to another position that is much better. So omnichannel is very important, but for me, it is actually that you have 100% the same processes within the systems, and perfectly, I would say you would not have like one sales channel for the store and one for e-commerce, just like you have one same, and then you can tweak it to the different shopping experiences. But yeah.
You're talking about shopping experiences there. Obviously, a lot of stores, humongous amount of products, and a lot of those products are rather uncomfortable to carry in terms of size and dimensions as well.
Yep.
Well, what are the ways? How do you make the customer experience better by buying, receiving these items, both online and offline?
Yeah. I mean, as I mentioned, we have what do you say, solutions for almost all all kind of different way to get a product so for the customer to buy it, get it delivered, like with different solutions for click and collect, collected store, sent to home, everything. But we've kind of put them on top of each other. We had never really refactored them and made it from the beginning. That's something that I would love to do, but it's you never have time for it. But I think that we have the different offerings that are required, even though that it's really bulky goods and it's crane freights and so on. But we suffer a bit when you do these combinations that are crazy that customers kind of tend to do. So we have quite a lot of deviations that we need to handle with manual effort and so on, and that's something that we want to do. That there are projects that we're working as we speak with Scandinavia now, how to simplify that, and that I think will become, I mean, the guidance for us to handle these many different complex combinations of delivery options and products and so on is simplicity. That is the key word, I would say. To go back to some kind of best practices and challenge like the way that we've done it. Sometimes, you do things, you develop things, you think, this is good from a customer perspective, but then you have something that kind of stops us from in another way. So really go back to what is the simple way. Maybe not to have like put any type of item in the basket and to be able to send it in all these combinations. Maybe it's easier to say, okay, when it's this type of thing, you need to complete the order and then you need to redo it again, because that will solve it for 20 other customers. And that scenario is much more frequent, to actually reevaluate all the different offerings and use cases that we have actually support for, and to see what are the most important things, and from a simplicity point of view, how can we make it more simple, and also going forward, I would say in all new things to add that mentality, or how will this add complexity? Because at the same time, I mean, we have business requirements that actually pushes the complexity quite much further. So but that's also very good, I would say, working with Scandinavia. I mean, earlier we had our own dev team and we had Scandinavia, and we had it was quite, now we have one common dev team that actually can handle this. So I think we can in an earlier stage actually see the consequences when it comes to complexity, to earlier build solutions that actually we can maintain and does not get this negative consequences over time. Yeah,
it's really interesting. So what I roughly hear is that obviously any big business comes with its own challenges, and especially when you have a large variety of items, large variety of shipping options and integrations and stores and other things. Not every problem is worth solving.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think we have some solutions that solve the problem that doesn't exist, but we have the solution still there. No one really knows about it, and no one is actually brave enough to remove it, because we don't know what actually that would lead to. And therefore there are also discussions with Scandinavia to see how can we actually not only refactor, but actually have a parallel world that we start over with and kind of evolve on the side to see how we can have how we can handle the requirements and the future by having parallel dimension or worlds together. Then let's see where we go. So yeah,
obviously Byggmax has gone through the digital transformation processes. You have invented the e-commerce, so you have managed to join the e-commerce with your physical stores, and there are challenges around it. What would you suggest, like 1, 2, 3 suggestions to other merchants planning the digital transformation who are only in the process of thinking about it? What would be the big challenges you suggest to look out for?
I mean, and it's a bit of philosophy for and the way I like it, but I believe that you should. I mean, the role as the merchant is actually not to be the best tech guys. Do not try to claim that this is the way that it shall be done when it comes to technology. You must focus on where you want to be. How can we attract the customers? How can we? Where do we want to be? Because you don't have time to do incorrect commercial decisions, and therefore you really need to pick the best tech guys out there, the best web agency or what you call it, and create the ecosystem that you can maintain. And you can, I mean, then when it all ends up at the end, it's like, does it work? Is the e-commerce platform fast enough? Is the product information correct? Does the search give good results? Do we attract the customers? Do we get the traffic and so on? And when it all comes up, it's that is the most important. And my experience is that if you have too many players out there, kind of the things end up in between the components or the services that you buy or the people that you try to hire and so on. So if you can package the ecosystem and get it up and running, then I think that is for me the key success factor that I would like to. Yeah, that's my view upon it. To build the ecosystem that it's that the whole ecosystem is strong enough, not only focus on one part, like online sales will solve everything, or this tech guy is like the hero. It's like really to get control of the ecosystem, so you can let the strategist when it comes to marketing management strategy and where to go and so on actually say that, okay, Oskar, you need to build this platform, this though, how long will it take? You can say 2 months instead of 2 years, or unfortunately many will say no, we don't have any capacity of doing it ever because we lack developers, or we don't have platforms or legacy systems or so on. So
yeah, that's good. That's good. Globally, we're going through some turbulent times, and we see the rising cost of goods, cost of transport, cost of everything. How do you deal with that? How do you see the costs going up? What is the strategy? What are you paying attention to, and how do you eliminate the efficiency around it?
Yeah, I mean, it's really not my domain. I mean, we are affected as all other retailers or all companies on what's going on in the world at the moment, and I think you need to pay close attention on what's going on and go back to why your business, why you are there, what your customer wants, to be close to the customers. And yeah, I don't have any good answers to that really. It's yeah.
We have an interesting question from the audience for researching online, purchasing offline. Do you measure that? And if so, then how?
Well, I actually just one day, like, I don't know, we had this survey tool and I just created a very simple like pop-up survey, and it was like a chatbot that we could just with some, I don't know, magic way with the guy next to me who was at the web tech department, and so we just had like on one of the web pages we just opened the chat saying like, why are you here? And then we kind of got some kind of feeling for what the purpose of visiting the site was. And that's the best I can offer. And it gave quite good statistics to what I felt all the time. And it relates very well to our sales as well. So yeah, since still we have the majority of sales in the store, we also see that the site is used to actually I mean, before I go to the store, I need to be sure that you have the product. Otherwise, I won't go to the store. I don't want to pay the gas price and so on. So that's super important. And unfortunately, we have optimized the site to convert online, and that has been the focus. And it's still maybe the most important thing, but we cannot forget the majority of the site visitors actually just want to see the stock balance. Otherwise, I won't go to the store. And if it's too complicated, then we lose sales offline. So it's very important. Then I know there are different ways to measure this, and I know that we have some ways to actually measure the offline sales. But yeah, I think you need to have a feeling for it as well. I don't know if I answered the question from the audience, but
I think, well, probably each company has their own approach, and I also haven't seen a solution that would measure the eye contact or face scan then the people back in store from coming online. It's probably not possible, at least with not within Europe, Maybe with other legal areas, it might be possible at some point.
And please note, I'm like the CIO. I'm not into details. There is a whole team working with the tracking and monitoring, and they would answer this question in a totally different way probably. But it's very important for me to understand the purposes of the site, and one is that, I mean, you won't go to this to visit the store if you don't know the price and the opening hours and the availability. And I just go back to myself. I would never actually visit the store. I mean, I hate it when I come to the store and it's kind of out of stock or the store is closed. I'm so upset with myself or so on. Or if the site is wrong, then yeah. So it's really hygiene. I think that's things that we also want to improve and be better at.
Absolutely, I completely agree with you. It's good to see that people higher and upper management are still reflecting through themselves, because in the end, it's people who buy from people, and we have to put the face to the company.
I think maybe just a quick comment on that. I mean, I think that's one of the strengths with Byggmax. It's, I mean, we in the management team, we are also DIYers. I like to work with my hands. I build things, and I think that's one of our corporate culture, to be very hands-on and to challenge what we're doing. I mean, I will not be satisfied if I can't shop online or use the site to prepare myself for a store visit. I will never be happy. I mean, and therefore I need to buy things. Everyone in the management team must be customers.
Very quickly, one last question. What's next for the Byggmax digital experience, both online and offline? What do you see is going to be important in the next year, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, I'm afraid I'm going to say it's quite a lot of basics, because we see the industry is moving, and we are not where we want to be in all areas. So it is, and maybe that's a boring CIO answer, and I know my commercial directors, they have like these plans and we'll reach them as well. But from my perspective, I want it to work. I want the customer to be happy. I want all orders to be delivered on time, with the price that we have decided. The invoicing is working, and the user experience super clear. I mean, we shouldn't have any customer that didn't understand actually what they bought, how they deliver, and so on. So for me, it's quite a lot of transparency, and really going back to make it super clear on everything. You mentioned I worked in the airline industry and many years ago, but I remember that to get people to buy tickets online, maybe you young people, you kind of wonder how can you buy tickets offline? But yes, you could. That was the way they did it. But man, that was to make people actually buy online. You wanted to remove all different aspects of uncertainty. That was the main focus in the early stages of e-commerce, and I still think that is valid. You need to remove every doubt, like then you get the conversion. And for me, especially when you have, as we do, so many different delivery options and different products, and it's really difficult to really be super transparent and clear on what's going to happen. And we can see that in my customer service, little bit too many customer service calls compared to orders. So it proves that the customers are really not there to be confident to actually place the orders. And I understand that if you want to buy like 100 items to build a garage, then you want to make sure. But so then you call. But the best thing would be that the site experience would be so good that they don't need to call. So and there are lots of other things that you can actually place an order, and you can change the order and so on. So there are lots of things you can do that in terms of making the user confident on what they're buying. So maybe boring answer, but that's where I have the focus. But please bear in mind, I'm the CIO. We have other people that want to go to new places with new functionalities and content and features and so on. So.
All right. No, it's an absolutely wonderful answer, because of course, like anything, you need to get the basics right before you can learn to do complex stuff. So yeah. I completely agree with you. Oskar, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, so we're going to have to move on. And I believe that your insights are very useful for entrepreneurs of all sizes. So I appreciate your company today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.